Yeah, but then
they are not the types that
they voted repeatedly to do it. I mean, you just heard Democrats
And what
on
was Donald Trump doing in the meantime?
He doesn't have a vote in the legislature.
No, he's the president of the United States, the most powerful president with Republicans in my lifetime, Scott.
Ana Navarro absolutely unleashed on Scott Jennings live on air. And trust me, it was one of those moments where the whole room goes quiet because everyone knows something real is about to drop. The debate kicked off over the GOP's response to humanitarian crises, and Ana didn't hold back for a second.
One thing that came out of this entire fight is that the healthcare system in this country has been, Obamacare, has been exposed as a complete and utter failure. We all know it now. Everybody admits it. The other thing that came out is that Democrats are willing to make people suffer. And you heard Democrat after Democrat today say, well, we just couldn't prolong the suffering. So they admit that their political tactics were designed to inflict suffering on the American people. We also learned about cynical politics in this. But the overall issue of health care is going to have to be dealt with because the system has failed. Everyone, I think it's bipartisan now, admits it.
Scott Jennings didn't just spin the narrative. He practically twisted it into a pretzel. On air, he forcefully inferred that Democrats were the reason health care services were delayed, as if the last few years of Republican obstruction and Trump-era rollbacks never happened. Jennings pushed the line with so much confidence that you'd think viewers had collectively forgotten the policy freeze-outs, budget cuts, and chaotic attempts that actually triggered the mess in the first place.
But I'm not sure that having Mike Johnson commit to giving billions of dollars to insurance companies for insurance that's not getting any better, it feels like it's getting worse to the American people, is going to make a difference. I could see Democrats and Republicans coming together to discuss that, like if we're going to spend this amount of money, should we be just giving it to insurance companies or should we be doing something else with it that would actually have a chance of making it feel like you could get seen by a doctor and get a better health outcome? But what we're doing now, writing checks to health insurance companies, is not getting us any better outcomes at all.
What made it even more brazen was how openly he tried to reassign blame. Instead of acknowledging the stalled reforms and the constant GOP infighting that derailed healthcare expansions, he painted Democrats as the ones dragging their feet. It was a classic Jennings maneuver: shift the narrative, defend Trump's legacy, and hope no one notices the contradiction. But people did notice, especially Ana Navarro. She shut that argument down immediately, fact-checking the timeline right in front of him. Navarro reminded him how Trump and the Republicans gutted key provisions, left states scrambling, and refused to negotiate on subsidies. Her response made it painfully clear that Jennings wasn't dealing with a memory gap. He was dealing with someone who wasn't going to let him rewrite history for the sake of a cleaner talking point.
What we saw also, I think what America saw, particularly people who were directly impacted and suffering, is they saw that Donald Trump does not give a damn. While people were going hungry, while federal workers were making lines that went round blocks, he was in Mar-a-Lago golfing or hosting lavish parties with seafood towers and caviar and champagne. Not at one point.
She's absolutely right. Ana's basically saying what everyone else was thinking. While regular people were hurting, Trump was out living it up like nothing was happening. And honestly, that's the kind of disconnect that hits hard because it's real. People were standing in lines for food, and he was surrounded by caviar. She didn't exaggerate. She just said it plainly.
Did he say, we have got to convene, I'm going to lead, I'm going to put Republicans and Democrats in a room around a table, like he did with Palestinians and Israelis, and we're going to craft a deal. We're all Americans and we have to figure this out? No. I mean, he just completely abdicated his duty to lead. And when he wasn't hosting a Great Gatsby party, he was giving $40 billion of U.S. taxpayer money to Argentina to bail out those people. Doesn't sound very America first to me. And so I think that put a light on the kind of precedent that people voted for.
Scott, with all respect, you cannot put on the American people that Democrats were the one that were hurting people, making this plight.
Who was casting the votes against opening the government? Democrats or Republicans?
Who was
casting the votes?
Scott, who was wanting to cut SNAP benefits?
Nobody.
And who was playing up SNAP benefits after two courts ruled that it was unallowed?
Republican.
When she points out that he never once stepped up to actually lead, she's hitting a nerve. That's the whole issue, basically. A president who disappears when it's time to do the hard work, then throws money around elsewhere while claiming it's America first. Her line exposes that gap between the slogan and the reality, and honestly, it says a lot without needing any extra drama.
On the American people, that Democrats were the one that were hurting people, making this plight.
Who was casting the votes against opening the government? Democrats or Republicans?
Who was wanting to cut?
Who was casting the votes?
Scott, who was wanting to cut SNAP benefits?
Nobody.
And who was playing up
SNAP
benefits after 2 courts ruled that it was unallowed?
Republicans voted to fund SNAP 15 times. Democrats voted to defund it 15
and you talk
times.
About the affordable,
we had to get 8 to join us.
You talk about the Affordable Health Care Act. Okay.
It's terrible.
Landmark legislation is not perfect. We understand that Democrats, Republicans, independents, 70% of Americans, not Democrats, not just independents, 70% of Americans believe that they should increase those subsidies past the dead mark of December, the COVID era subsidy benefits. So it's a huge, huge thing.
And when Dylan fires back with those questions, who voted to open the government? Who wanted to cut SNAP? That's where the whole argument cracks. He's basically forcing Scott to face the math, not the talking points. And honestly, that's the power move here. He's not yelling, he's not dramatizing. He's just laying out the receipts and letting the facts do the talking. It's the kind of pushback that shuts down the blame game real fast.
I know a lot of Republicans, I know a lot of Democrats. They're cut from different cloths. Democrats simply don't have the cold-heartedness necessary to see people suffering and just say, let them eat cake.
Yeah, but then
they are not the types that
they voted repeatedly to do it. I mean, you just heard Democrats
and what
on
was Donald Trump doing in the meantime?
He doesn't have a vote in the legislature.
No, he's the president of the United States, the most powerful president with Republicans in my lifetime, Scott. He never once even told them, come back to Washington.
We just played
Democrat. You guys have been out of Washington for a month and a half.
Correct.
A month and a half.
We just played Democrat after Democrat admit.
When Anna says Democrats don't have the cold-heartedness to watch people suffer, she's not just throwing shade, she's pointing straight at the moral gap she sees in this whole situation. And then she hits the real point. Trump wasn't some bystander. He was the president, the guy with all the leverage, all the influence, and he never once stepped in to push his own party back to work. That's the part that stings. The power was there, the responsibility was there, and he just didn't use it. Anna's basically calling out that vacuum of leadership, and honestly, it's hard to ignore.
The Democratic plan to prolong the shutdown was causing, quote, suffering. That was their words, not mine. Democrats themselves realized the tactic of suffering was no longer something they could personally stomach. That was their party, not Republicans.
Only 7 Democrats voted for this.
8.
Not Democrat after Democrat. No.
He caucuses with the
There were
Democrats.
7.
He
And
made
then
caucus.
Don't split
He's
hairs.
an
He
independent.
caucuses with the
And you're
Democrats.
absolutely right. You're
I know
right.
exactly.
Democrats did fold because Trump was wagering the American people's health, safety, and food security on politic games. And the Democrats, one silver lining I see that we can be proud of as Democrats.
Jennings tried to spin Trump's choices as strategic, but all it really did was leave everyday Americans carrying the burden while he nodded along like everything was fine. Ava Navarro didn't let that slide for a second. She took him straight to the cleaners, stripping his talking points down to bare bones with her explosive response. She dismantled his defense piece by piece, proving she wasn't about to let him rewrite history on live TV.